Let me cue up the song.
Okay, let me.
Do you need a title?
Sure.
So, today on Night Typical Girl Talk. Woo! Sorry, girl, I was running. Okay. Alright, so today, oppression. Oh, shoot, hold on. Systematic oppression.
Okay.
That is our topic for today. Ooh, I'm going to cue up our sound. Hey.
You know, we didn't really make it to the finals, but
Hey.
we're gonna get some steam. Come on!
Are we
We
really?
still have to have the spirit. We still have to say, you know what? We're gonna be like the Toronto Maple Leafs and say, we'll do better next year.
She doesn't. I don't think
You
she's
know.
falling for it.
Girl, and I don't blame you. What up, sis?
Listen, okay? Listen, Linda. Okay. Linda, listen, I wish that kid was there to say to Pascal, listen, Pascal,
Right?
it's game 7. Listen, Nick Nurse, if Serge Ibaka, okay, is killing it, you bench Pascal and you put in Serge. Matt Thomas did more for me personally than Pascal was doing. Like, what was Nick thinking?
I fully agree.
Absolute. It's like, okay, why is everything, it was like watching a slow train crash.
It was pretty.
It was horrible.
18 turnovers. We had 18 turnovers. I think they led to like 25 to 30 points, somewhere in that range. So, and if we, and the free throws we missed. And it was like, Pascal, like, do not shoot any more threes. Like, you are not allowed. Do not shoot it. Go to the hole. Do it. And even when he was going, it was like Serge Ibaka came on. I don't know what prayer he was saying. He did an open-handed, hand-up prayer. He came with a shot. And then they bench him. Girl, listen, I cannot. So,
it was sad.
Here we are. I mean,
And then everyone just saying, yeah, it'll be over next year. It's like, well,
I
next year
think-
could have been this year.
I think the reason why everyone is saying what they're saying is because, you know, it could have been. It
Coulda,
could
woulda,
have worked
shoulda.
out. We have the talent to do it, and we decided not to. That's why it hurts so much.
we have a bench. We could, like, I was waiting for the lineup change. Like,
Right.
I'm like, Nick has to go with the lineup change. Like, I remember when Dwayne Casey benched DeMar DeRozan, right? He did not make him start. He benched his ass.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe you play with a certain level of fire when your ass is benched. I don't know. But, like, Pascal should have been benched. Serge should have started.
Yeah.
We should have seen more of Matt Thomas, who's a catch and shoot player. Like, it's not like we were blown out. If we were blown out, I would have said, okay. But some of these shots that we were taking was like, yo, dude,
Yeah,
like,
Yeah, they should not
I
have
mean,
been
I don't
it should
understand.
not have been final number. It wasn't. We weren't out for the count. Like, we just literally needed like 2 3-pointers.
What's the sad
And
part?
like, it's not like we were far gone. We were not 10 points, behind. We were not 20 points behind. We could have.
We were
what
right
hurt
there.
even more.
Yeah, we could have turned.
It was right there. It was right there. So it did hurt my heart. I really wasn't speaking. The only person I spoke to today was my mom, and that was actually by accident.
Oh.
I wasn't trying to talk to anybody. I went for a long run and a long walk, and I was just like, I need to get over this. I was just like, let me deal with it. There is next season. Whatever happens, happens.
Girl.
And
No,
here we are.
And next season, we don't know because it's
New
going to be a
lineup.
completely different
It's
team.
a new lineup.
I think a lot of them are, their contracts are up.
So a lot of them, we are never going to see them play together again. So
well, ta-ta, as far as I'm concerned. I'm used to this winning lifestyle. I want them to keep winning.
Of course.
I mean, the Chicago Bulls did it back in the day. Come on, Raptors. There's no difference. Let's
So, and you know what? The only saving grace I have to say is that it's COVID. And there would have been no championship parade and no jump up. And your girl likes to jump up. So if there is any saving grace to them losing yesterday in the bubble, is that whether or not they had won, we were not going to have a championship parade like we did last time. And that parade, as we know, ladies, was off the chain, unprecedented. It was
to this day, I have not deleted those photos or video out of my phone.
No,
because I'm like, it was a great time.
That was a moment.
It was a great time.
It was a moment that will never be repeated.
To be
right, and we can't have that moment.
We made our ways down there.
It was
a good time in our red and black and our white, and
we represented
our retro purple and having a good time.
It was great. It was a moment.
So
that will never be forgotten.
Exactly. So for me, understanding that we would have never had that experience as this year's champions does make me feel a little bit better. So if we come back bigger and better next year and become next year's champions, we can have that level of parade, because having a parade in October, November, which would have never happened, it would have been the Raptors going throughout the streets. And that's it, right? Like being webcasted on Zoom, right? Right? So we wouldn't have had a COVID championship parade. So that's fine. Whoever wins it, they can have their little COVID parade. We'll see you next year. Okay. See you next year. We'll be back bigger and stronger. Call it a day. Now to our topic of the day, which will be an interesting one. And I guess the question is, you know, we're asking because we understand that there's systemic oppression, right? It exists. We know it is. The system hasn't been built for us. It wasn't designed for us.
That's right.
And it's in both countries, right? Canada, the US, you look across Europe, you look even in parts of Africa, if you look at South Africa, which is run by the white man, right? So when laws are being built by people in power, it's to keep people like them in power. It isn't written for the slaves back in the day. It isn't written for the poor. So the question is systemic oppression the ultimate head start for those who it benefits?
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I'm going to start from a system that was set up before, I mean, it was set up like even when the Bible was set up, and I would say something like the monarchy. You know, the monarchy has done a very good job at, you know, showing us, you know, how the system can be set up to keep people in power and keep people out. And some people are born with the upper hand and some people are not. You know, for instance, across Canada and the US, there are so many kids, some of them are children of color, Black children that are gifted. You know, they might be geniuses in math or science. And these kids, technically, they should be seen as a gift, you know, to the world. Definitely. And, you know, they should be really pulling in all the money and all the opportunities they can pull in. But because they're perhaps born to a middle class, lower middle class, or poor family, they are never going to get the opportunity to go to these schools like Harvard. Like, you know, here in Canada, we have like York University, we have Ryerson, Carleton, like all of these schools where, you know, is where, you know, these kids should be going to school, really advancing their education and being able to, who knows, become a doctor in their 20s, which is totally possible. They don't get that opportunity because another child, white, from a family that maybe, you know, they have old money.
On the prestigious side.
Yeah, and
live in the right area code.
Yeah, they live in the right area code. Their dad knows so-and-so, president of whatever school.
So the nepotism kicks in.
Yeah, and that kid is not as bright, but they're going to get the scholarship and they are going to get to go to Harvard University and they will excel. And the child that was brilliant they don't get to stimulate their mind, and therefore their mind sort of wastes away and they become bored because they're not being educated to the standard that they need. And then we all see the path. Then the next thing you know is they're bored. Someone introduces them to a different way of life. The next thing you know, this child becomes a statistic and ends up in prison or ends up in some sort of, you know, rehabilitation center when they could have literally be curing cancer.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny. Even with like when you go back in the day before when the world was still open, when you get into cabs and you start talking to the cab drivers, some of them would come from Africa, from India, from all parts of the earth, and they tell you their story, and they're geniuses.
Yeah, they're engineers.
They're engineers. They're doctors, like in their country, and then when they come here or to the States, they're cab drivers, and it's like, well, wait a minute, what went on here? How did you go from like being like a surgeon in like Africa from now coming to being
like, you can't even get
cab service.
Yeah, you can't even get an apprenticeship here. Like to
even
say
that.
I'm an apprentice until, you know, I've worked a couple more hours here in this country, and then I can, you know, live out my full doctorate. I can live out my full engineering certificate. Like,
it's a shame.
Yeah.
So yeah, the white man totally benefits. Totally.
I think what's interesting about you guys bringing that up, and that's a good point, is there's kind of bias inherent in our system, right? And so there's this idea that North American and European education is far superior to other education in other parts of the world. And therefore, when these individuals come and they move here, despite their credentials, despite the hard work they put in, despite some of their levels of success that they've achieved in their country, somehow when they cross this little barrier here, the bias that we have with this idea that our education system is far superior puts them in a position where they now have to go through and find a way to go through this different schooling. Because I know that there's a process that they have to go through and get their credentials done, and generally it's not approved, and then they are being told that they have to spend money to go and re-educate themselves in the way to do medicine in this part of the world, because there's this bias that this part of the world, what we're doing is the right way. And if the COVID situation has shown you anything, is America doesn't know what the fuck it's doing.
I just want that to sink in.
Yeah, let it sink in. Let's just slow clap.
Because they want people to go inject themselves.
A little louder for the people in the back.
They want people to go inject themselves by November 3rd.
Okay.
When we all know, all of us that have, especially in Canada where they have enough, you know, clinical trials, and many people, depending on what you've been through in your medical history, you know how long clinical trials go on for. And clinical trials is a 2 to 5 year process.
It's a good while.
Like, they're just not out here releasing drugs like, you know, like your latest favorite drug dealer. You know, it's a process. So the idea that we still don't know how long COVID lasts on surfaces. Like, we still don't understand why some people lose their limbs when they have COVID. We don't understand why some people end up with nerve damage after going through the COVID virus. We don't understand this virus. So how are we going to have a vaccine before the year is even out, when we just discovered it in December of last year?
They must know, Carl.
Like, it only got a name in December. Now, yes, I believe the thing has been around since September of last year, but they only discovered that it was a thing in December.
Right.
And we only decided that it was a pandemic in March. And you're expecting us to have a full-on, safe, and secure way of fighting this disease, girl, before December.
And here's the interesting part about that. They're going to look for the poor and the desperate in order to do that. Because Trump and his family and the Hiltons and the Kardashians and the, you know, the Westons in Canada and the Trudeaus in Canada, they're not going to be lined up for the first round of these vaccines. The reality is you're going to have humans who are basically going to be like test tubes for seeing what this cure or this vaccine or whatever they want to call it when you inject it into people's bodies. And so again, we go to the system is created such a design that especially if there is, there are enough, I've signed up for them, I've never actually done one, but there are, biopharmaceutical companies who come in and say, sign up for this trial, as you said, because we want to test what this generic drug does and this name brand drug does, and we want to test what it does. And they pay you at the end of it, right? So if they come and you are in a situation, because right now we know the economy is tanking in North America, we are essentially in a recession, and someone offers you $1,500 to go test this, whatever it is, because we don't know what it is, a lot of people are going to sign up, and it's the poor. So you're telling me something works, will you try it?
Okay.
You think it works? Your family be the first one in line.
I agree.
Go ahead and try this vaccine.
1,000%. Trump is one that said, by November 3rd, we're going to have a
vaccine.
I hope that, okay.
I hope they
election? By the election?
He should be the first one to take it.
So by the election.
About that.
By the election. Do you realize that that's the election, right?
Yes.
If it's not the exact day of the election, it's the month of the election. So somehow you have somehow convinced medical people to have a vaccine ready for you by the election. Do you understand how the system works? Like that, to me, there is no care and concern for the citizens and the impact that this virus is having on people's life. Your concern is to try to show yourself as a leader that you have put down your iron fist, and you somehow have miraculously, out of all of the presidents and all of the world, have been able to have your country design a vaccine in literally mere months. For a virus that is mutating, and you actually don't know what, like Garcia said earlier, what the hell is happening. So you want, this is people have to understand, like, the system is designed in such a way that, like, it's almost like people are like, yay, we're able to do this. This is great. They're really looking out for me. No, little farmer.
They're not looking out for you.
Minnesota, in Missouri, they don't care about you.
They don't care about you. How much? They only care about how much you make, and what bracket you're in.
Yeah.
But they don't care about you.
At this point, and that reminds me of, there was a time, in Michael Jackson's life where he finally discovered that, he finally remembered he was black. Was starting to, it was starting to affect the way how his fans were looking at him, how society was looking at him. And he wrote a song that I refer to all the time. And the song is called They Don't Care About Us. And
all I really want is they don't really care about us.
That's a theme song for black people.
And that song, I think, I've been seeing it even on Instagram, people saying, yo, this track was well before its time.
He was right.
And he was right. The truth is that there is a system that we are talking about today, and the system is meant to say that even if you are, even if your dad is Will Smith,
don't matter.
It doesn't matter, because you are black, and that might affect, even though, your dad is this loved actor or celebrity, you being black is still a thing.
Yep.
It's still going to get in the way, even though you have the Hollywood backing and you know what I mean? Like, we see it with rappers all the time. Mm-hmm. We see it with people in political office. We have Kamala Harris, who shouldn't technically be having these issues because of all of the accolades behind her name.
Right.
But she is black. So there's a system that is built that says, girl, we don't care how much you've done. We don't care how many corporations you've taken down. You're black, and black people aren't supposed to be in this lane that you are standing in.
No.
You need to go over there, sis. That's what the system says. Like Malcolm X, he experienced it when he was a little boy. They saw that he was brilliant.
Carpenter.
They
were trying to tell him to be a carpenter instead of being a lawyer, instead of being a leader. because the system says you are not supposed to be in leadership. You are not supposed to be in a place of a public image or public affair. You are supposed to go do things for other people. Mind you, nothing is wrong with being a carpenter.
No.
But they weren't saying for him to go start his business.
No.
You know, they weren't telling him to go out here.
They meant it like in a derogatory
They
way.
meant it in a derogatory way, as in go and just do anything else. Just please don't
go and
get
get rich.
rich and don't be more big up than we are.
And it's the same thing today.
I love
We
it.
always talk about the school system. You know,
girl.
they just want to push all the Black kids, Indian kids, mixed kids, anything that's not white. They push them into this box where it's like they're setting us up to fail.
Yeah.
It's like, and then, you know, especially when you're like 5 years old, they're putting this in their child's mind. And you always say, you know, the first 5 years of a child's life,
It's so
It's very
so
important.
By the time this kid turns 7, they're already like manic
Yeah.
depressed because they're like, well, what's the point of me trying? My teacher said I can't become
right.
this or that. It's like embedded inside of us. And it's hell to get that idea out of your mind.
You said something, you just hit on something, Telly, that was so interesting. So, you know, I've recently, after writing my books, I had a mom reach out to me, and I've been, you know, having phone calls with her daughter, who is 12 years old.
Okay.
And the daughter said something to me that just broke me. And it was when she told her teacher that she was writing this book. Her teacher could not believe it because the idea was that she was somehow not capable of writing a book.
Yeah, because it's been
And
programmed
so-
in her. It's the teacher has been programmed to believe that there's no way literature could come out of a Black person.
Wow.
And it was interesting because the mother had said to me that I guess the school has designated the daughter with some learning impediment. I always say impediment because I don't think it's a disability,
course.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've reviewed her writing. I have done all of that, and it was interesting that I had to sit on the phone with a 12-year-old as we were on Zoom, and I had to say to her, "Don't let anybody define you. You define yourself.
Absolutely.
I know you can do it. And why do I know you can do it? Because you are doing it. The key to doing something is doing it. So for a teacher to say to you, because of whatever she may have achieved under this particular teacher, she was surprised that she would be writing a book. I said, but you're doing it. And you're getting up every day and you're doing it. And so we look at the education system.
Girl.
The education system is simply part of a system that was built when we were slaves.
Yes.
Right?
And
it was built
it.
when they were when they were putting, you know, indigenous families and separating them and putting them in residential homes. They were big. That's when these laws and rules were written. So to think that laws, let's refer to the United States for a second. We were free in 1865. This Constitution was written way before 1865.
Yeah.
And for people who do not know it, the reason some of these southern states have so many electoral college votes is because of slavery. They didn't have enough free people, and they gave them these electoral college votes to make up for the fact that most of the people in that state were slaves.
That's it.
And so when you look at these candidates fighting for these slave states to win their electoral college, how do you think a system that was written when we were not free people is going to be fair and equal for us? It's not. And you know what's interesting is we're not asking for special treatment.
That's it.
We're asking for fair
We want
treatment.
equality.
That is it. That is it. And when I say
We are
that to
owed
people,
money,
you
but
know,
we'll take a call.
Oh no, I want my 40 acres and a mule.
No, and I say this to people all the time when I'm
Girl,
having chats
oh.
with, you know,
Oh,
my
man.
Caucasian friends.
Yeah.
You know, I say, you know, at the end of the day, you know what we all want? Just equality.
Well, that's it. Like,
I want to be able to apply to a college and be looked at for my grades.
that's
For
it.
my accomplishments in the same way that Betty is looked at for her grades. I want to be able to go into a restaurant and and be served at the same time as my
Girl.
other white friends who are served.
Say it, Kelly, because I know you're waiting. That is your face. Say it loud for people that, because
I don't see why I need to work 120%,
You know,
to get 40% less pay than Bob. You know, I'm literally asking for the same pay. I'm asking for the same treatment. I don't want to be better than you. You don't need to make a statue of me. You don't even need to make a statue of Malcolm X. You just need to treat all of us like we are all human beings. That's it.
However,
you bring up a great,
Listen.
you bring up a great point. And yes, Toshiba just reminded me of your lovely birthday dinner that we had back in late. Before it was on your birthday. It was the weekend.
It was the weekend of
the day
my
before.
August.
Yes.
Yeah.
Middle August.
Girl. Okay. So yeah, in case for anyone that doesn't know, we all decided to go out for dinner for Carcia's birthday. And should I say the place where we went?
No, people could put it together if you go to my Instagram.
True. Oh yeah. You know what? Yeah. If you go along Instagram, you'll see it on one of our feeds. So anyway, Carcia, myself, Toshiba, and friends, we all got together and we went to this restaurant. When we got there, when we first got there, they took us to a very nice area. It was semi-private. It was empty. We were the first ones there. We sit. Toshiba is the next one to come in. She sits. Everything's going fine. A few more of our friends come in. We're all Black. We were all in there by ourselves. Remember that. Not even, maybe like 20 minutes has passed.
We haven't gotten water. We haven't met a waiter.
No bread. No, nothing.
No one's saying hi, welcome, I will be right back.
Okay, nothing. But we're sitting there patiently waiting. Another group comes in, a white group. They come and they sit on a table right beside ours. Their box sides barely touch the chair. And they have two waiters. They get water. They got a menu. But they basically got all the special treatment. And even before the waiters came, Toshiba and I, we saw the white crowd coming, and we look at Kirsten and we're like, I bet you right now they're gonna get served before we do. Although we've been there now for about 45 minutes. So said, so done. They get their serve, so we're like, oh, okay, it's gonna be like that. Toshiba and I were about to go off, and then finally,
I was ready.
Finally, they sent over a Black waiter because I guess they want to calm our nerves because they know we won't go off on our own.
On a Black waiter.
Exactly. It was well played.
Well played. No, they played that shit very well. When the manager came over and realized that our faces were very unhappy, and Carcia was very calm, and I was one pop away. Like I was ready to do that.
It was like that. You were about to just be like, you know, and then
I want you to understand too. This table,
we're dressed to the nines.
My friends, all of my friends are people that are not afraid to talk. I'm probably the most introverted publicly, and I'm not even that introverted.
No, you're not. You speak your mind.
But you know, everyone there is capable of getting on a soapbox, if you know what I mean. Like, it could have been a big issue. It could have been a big issue. And the restaurant did everything they possibly could.
But the damage was already done.
I mean, the damage was done because, you know, this is Toronto.
Yes, Toronto. We claim we don't have systematic racism, or we don't have any racism at all here. All of us are treated equal here.
Yeah, and this is a restaurant that is basically supposed to be catering to people of different nationalities because it is a Mexican restaurant. So the idea that this is the sort of thing that was happening in this restaurant, that is actually somewhat of a famous restaurant. If I were to say the name again, tons of people would say, oh yeah, I know there. Go to my Instagram if you want to know what restaurant it is, and you can blast them on your own if you want. But they did apologize.
Which meant nothing.
But, you know, and one of my friends even made it clear that in this heightened issue that we're having with race, this is not good for her to experience this on her birthday. And she full on just said that to the manager. And, you know, thank you, girl, for saying that. But, you know, it's issues like these that constantly remind us that it is so instilled in our DNA, as Jane Elliott,
That's my girl.
yes. She said, look, if you were born, and this is a US thing, but I do believe, you know, this is a Canadian thing too. She said, if you were born in the United States as a white person, I'm telling you, by 5 years old, you are a racist.
Oh, I can
And
agree with
you
that.
don't know you are. She's like, it's so deeply ingrained in you. And, you know, it's not really your fault. It happens to your subconscious. You don't know that this is happening to you. And one day you just wake up and say, wow, all Black people are thugs.
Yep.
You don't know where it came from. You don't know why you think that. You've never even been victimized by a Black person. But you just have that thought because that is what's shown to you in the TV shows. That's what's told to you by people passing by.
What you read in books.
What you read. Yeah, what you see around
what you hear.
It's
everywhere.
Exactly. So, you know, when you're walking with your mom in the mall and she pulls you closer when a Black guy is walking ahead. These are all things that teach people how to be racist. And the thing is that the unlearning needs to happen. You need to wake up one day and say, the system messed with my mind and made me racist. And
brainwash different people.
The whole entire universe needs to unlearn some things and relearn new habits. And right now, we're in this like state where people are freaking out because they thought that they had 2 Black friends and they're like, oh, I'm not racist. But what is white privilege? Oh, that's just an excuse for lazy Black people. And now they're learning, oh, wait a minute, it's
she went turns her back like, no. I was like, I don't know.
But now they're learning, oh shoot, yes, white privilege is also seeped in our government to make us believe that only white people can run for government. Yeah. Only white people can speak more than one language. Only white people can be doctors. Black people, they're lucky if they can get a job. And that's what
they learn.
That's what they learn indeed. It's facts. And I just realized now, I didn't even remember I was wearing this shirt. Hi, Tupac.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because I was going to say, I remember that reminded me of what Toshiba always says. You know, people love Tupac. You love Jay-Z, you love Nas, you love Beyonce, you love Aaliyah. But when it comes now to defending us, the same people that you say big ups to, and when we get shot at, you're just like, oh, well, they need to tone down. No. We're like, what's going on here?
Well, again, the system.
You can't say you love that, you rep for the culture, but then you're all right with seeing us dead in the street.
Well, and poor and uneducated and all of the different things that, you know, we're claimed to be. Because the interesting thing about privilege is, I think what's interesting about this time right now is a lot of people I'm noticing are checking their privilege and trying to understand what privilege is. And I was reading a story that was very interesting. It was a couple of months ago. And it was a white lady at Walmart. And she was talking about the fact that she was at Walmart. She happened to be walking out of Walmart at the same time as a Black guy, and the alarm goes off.
Oh, dear.
They let her go.
Of course.
And they stopped him. So she said she stopped as well. And she actually asked the question, why did you stop him and not me?
Because she knows.
She said, and so she waited until the whole situation, they went through the Black guy's things, not his. The thing was actually in her bag. Okay. And it wasn't from a Walmart thing. She had brought in another bag from another store and they forgot to take off the tag. And she said she had a conversation with the gentleman after, and he even asked her, 6 months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, would you have done that? She said, no, I wouldn't have even thought about it. It wouldn't have even occurred to me how my privilege was playing a role in the fact that I get to kind of go on with my day and you're slightly harassed, because that's what that is. Exactly. When the alarm's going off, the assumption is you stop both people. Both people have bags. You stop both people.
Stop
But
it.
the
You should.
system has indoctrinated people so much so that the black man got stopped while the white woman she would have went on her merry little way, not thinking about it. And these are the little things that people don't recognize. That these are the things that create the racism and the hate and the discrimination and the anger that lives in people when, again, we're not asking for special treatment.
No.
We just want fair treatment. We want a system that understands that we are more than capable of being capable.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all we're asking for.
You know, the idea that, you know, it's sad to see that your color, you know,
the pigment of your skin.
Yeah, the pigment of your skin is literally
stopping you from your life.
You know, how you should be treated regardless of how smart, talented, or charismatic you are. And, you know, I think about so many times when it comes to, you know, people making decisions based upon what they see before them. You know, I've been followed around many times in stores.
I think every black person.
Yeah, and I think every black person can, you know, and I've seen other people of other races literally ripping the store off. But the store owner is so concerned about me that I'm watching them as they watch me as I watch someone ripping them off and walking out of the store with their merchandise. And I'm like, you got the wrong person. She just left with
the turkey
with different scarves and stuff.
But you're so worried about me. And again, a system that is designed during a time when we were not free, during a time where Canada was, again, taking families and ripping them apart because they wanted to indoctrinate Indigenous children into what it is to be Canadian. Then when rules and laws are being written during that time, how do we have a fair shot?
Yeah. And I do want to say, too, you know, I'll have a question for you guys. And my question is basically going to be, why is it so hard for someone to step up and say, we're going to change the system? And while you're coming up with your answers, my thing about, you know, systemic racism, I know I'm going to get some great answers. You know, with systemic racism is, you know, people just have to look at things like, for instance, I've had full-on arguments with people that I had to unfollow that didn't like the idea of new money.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and they were like, oh, these people coming in with their new money. And I'm like, so wait a minute, you're saying that only the Hiltons, the Kennedys, the Trumps, the Eatons, the Simpsons, the Trudeaus, the Rogers, they're the only people that are allowed to be extremely rich? Like, when you say new money is bad, that translates to me that you don't want anyone that doesn't look like Paris Hilton to be extremely rich. That makes me think that you wouldn't want someone like me to be extremely rich. Like, it's a bad thing if I have money, because new money means we went out and we became millionaires. You know, we self-made, we bought properties, we, you know, invested in companies, we started companies and therefore became rich. You don't want that from people that look like me. Is that what you're saying?
That's
exactly
and
what they're saying. No. And I'm like, well, the first person you mentioned when you said new money was Barack Obama.
Okay.
Why did you say him? Why didn't you say someone like Lady Gaga?
Why didn't you say Mr. Benzo with his $2.2 billion?
Right. Why did you bring up a biracial person who is married to a black woman with black children? Like, why did you bring them up first? So, see, that just goes to show that it's so embedded that, you know, we are not supposed to have these things. So, going to my question now, why is it so hard? Because technically it shouldn't be hard.
No.
Get rid of the electoral vote. Make it popular vote. It's much easier to understand and count anyway. Makes it easier, makes it less easier to cheat. Yes, I'm talking about you, 45. And it's a clear indication of who wins. No one has to go around and start doing math and dividing. Canada, why can't we just make it an even plane
Okay.
for the indigenous person,
That part.
for the Black person,
That part
for
too.
the Hispanic
And
person.
that part too.
You know, why are these rules still here?
They're here for our tagline. It is the ultimate head start for
That's it.
someone. At the end of the day, if you are running a relay race and you are in the 8th block and you get everybody else gets a head start and you have to catch up, listen, try as you may, Usain Bolt that bitch, okay? And even Usain Bolt, as fast as
You'll never
he
catch up.
is ain't catching up, right? Try, be in the 8th block and have somebody holding on to your shirt as you're trying to run and being weighted down. It is no benefit for those in power for whom the rules work for
That's it.
to change them to help those for whom they work against.
That's so true. I agree
And
with
that,
you. Yeah, I agree with you.
right? That's what we need to consider. It's you need to dismantle the system. The system needs to be dismantled. These ideas that we're going to make new things and we're going to create these little systems over here and we're going to create this little thing for you over here. We'll give you a little piece over here, right? We're going to give you funding. And listen, Trudeau, I understand what Trudeau's trying to do with this new funding. I think it's great, but they're loans, not grants.
Thank you.
Loans need to be paid back.
Yo, we were just talking about that yesterday.
We were talking about
If we don't have the money, how are we gonna pay it back?
So
If we're not getting the contracts, how are we gonna pay the money back?
how do we pay
If
back?
the bank is going to be after our asses, how are we gonna get the money back? So if you want to help Black people who you understand the system is designed to work against, you don't put us in a worse financial situation by offering us loans. You give us free money, you can print it. Give us a grant.
Yeah,
you don't pay back.
Invest in us.
Yeah.
Give us the money and don't ask for it back.
I mean, again,
Oh.
you know, a lot of what is happening right now, yes, it's great. It looks great. But
It
when
looks
you
and
check,
sounds great, but that's
when
all
you
it
check
is.
10 years down the line, you know, if you already have a loan or a line of credit out for your business, and then you go and you get this other, you know, loan, before you know it, you look like you're paying like $1,000 a month in debt. And this slows down the process of a Black person buying a home, a Black person being able to invest in other properties.
Your credit is screwed.
Your credit is screwed, and therefore you start looking like the stereotypical.
And that's what they want.
What they want, the Black person with bad credit.
That's what they want. Another thing too, the reason why some people won't step up to, you know, help other races, I feel is also fear. Because, you know how it goes. If one person stands up for justice, everyone else is going to look at you and be like, why are you helping them? Why are you this? Why are you that? A lot of people are afraid for their life. So they're not going to help anybody, but just kind of hide under a rock and say, you know what? I see the injustice, but I'm fearful of my life. I'm going to keep my mouth shut and just watch what's going on.
And again, it doesn't concern me. Mind your business.
Concern them.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of,
Yeah.
it's not my, mind the business that pays you. Right? That's a big thing people need to consider. There is a mind the business that pays you mentality that happens. And that, again, is aligned with systemic oppression. And that happens to us also, right? As Black people, right? This is in corporations. When we work for companies, as we all have, when we understand, and we all know my story, the audience doesn't know, but I've been there, done that when it comes to bias and discrimination in the workplace, right? And a lot of people will ignore because they're minding the business that pays them. Right? And so what happens is, as Black entrepreneurs, a lot of us become entrepreneurs because we realize the system is not designed for us to succeed. And so we try to branch out on our own, still trying to fight a system, but hoping that with our experience and our expertise and all of that, we'll do so, only to hit roadblocks because, again, the system is not designed for us to succeed. So thank you, Trudeau, for sitting with Black people and hearing our voices, but somebody told you wrong. We don't need more debt. We're
No.
already bootstrapping our businesses. We're already taking loans on our credit cards.
Okay.
We're already borrowing from friends and family. We're already doing that. We are through a partner. If you're Jamaican or West Indian, you throw your partner and try to find money for your partner. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are doing it. We understand the loan system. We've been there, done that. Okay? We want grants. We don't want loans. I don't want money that I'm gonna have to worry about paying back.
Yeah,
How is that helping anyone's situation?
It does.
To put us in the country in more debt? Like, just print more money and make it a grant instead of giving people loans.
Another thing too that I want to like explain too, because one of the things as a Black woman and the thing is that now I'm glad that we're starting to get a platform where we can tell our stories, and because a lot of people don't know our stories. And I think that, you know, for instance, like you have this conversation with someone and someone would come and say, Garcia, I don't know, you know, what's happening, but you know, you're not like them. You know, you look how much you've done. You've been here, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this, and I've seen you do it. And I'm like, yeah, but listen,
Linda,
I couldn't be my authentic self when I did all that.
Thank you.
When I did all that, I had to put on
a mask.
I could not be myself. I could not walk in there with Tupac on my chest
and
a baseball cap and be like, yo, like I couldn't do that. I had to go in as an alter ego, and I had to work 300 times more when everyone went home or went to the bar to go drink. I had to stay there and work. Even the other day, we were talking about how some weekends, even though I was in an office, who's in
the office?
Me.
Who gets to watch everyone else go on 2-hour, 3-hour long lunch breaks, but you decide to sit at your desk and work yourself into a brain fuck because you're like, oh, I don't want to lose my job and I don't want anybody down, so you're there typing away like a psycho.
And I never got a chance to be in the CEO chair, which I should have. With that much work ethic, I should have been considered to be a director of an entire department, or not that I wanted it. I've never wanted
it was just
to
a
be
title. They wouldn't give you the money.
But you know what I mean? Like, yes, would they give me more money?
No.
And that's the thing. When I work 300%, I'm lucky if I start to make even close to what my other friend, who is of a lighter complexion, to make the amount of money that they make for the less work they're doing, because they're doing less work.
So just because you said that, it brought up a sore spot for me. So let me tell my story, because you know what it is, girl. So for the audience, anybody who's listening, imagine this, okay? You start in a company. You are making a certain salary in that company. You start with that company and they realize, wow, she's got these amazing talents. She's really great with people and people seem to like her. We're going to help make her start a new department. So understand, person still in this job that they got hired for, now they go and help the company make more money, so that now they're responsible for building, creating a new department, okay? With everything that goes with that new department, right? And that person is me, just in case you don't realize. So I go in and I start a new department. I create so much money for this company that the bonus checks, Garcia used to work with me. Garcia, remember those bonus checks in July? Those bonus checks are popping. The CFO stands up and talks about the fact that because of this new division I started and the successful programs that I've created in the role that I was initially hired for, we had increased our gross profit margins over 20%. Now, was I solely responsible? No, but he gave me most of the credit, and Garcia was there. He stood up and looked directly at me with the new department, so forth and so on. Fast forward me leaving the company because bias and someone who didn't like the accolades that I was getting despite the fact that I wasn't getting the money, only to find out me now leaving this company, I was being paid the same amount as an executive assistant for one of the directors who was actually my mentor. So me and her executive assistant were being paid the same amount. She contributed fuck all. Okay? Garcia can tell. Fuck off. When I left
Oh,
that
okay, I know
company,
this.
when I left
yeah,
that
no,
company,
Yes, and so yes, Toshiba and I were working at the same place at the time, and I'm like, how much can I say? But this is what
lightly.
Yes, this is what I will say. It was disturbing. It was disturbing, and the problem that I saw there was that how can they just easily pay, and the person that was the executive assistant, she was kind of new. She wasn't there for years and years and years and years. This was her start pay.
Wow.
This was her entry level pay.
Whoa.
And yes, like, it was very disturbing. It was very disturbing. And I'm up to this day, even thinking about it, I'm like, that is some bull.
oh, it angers me because it is that same story of putting in blood, sweat, and tears into creating success. Because, you know, when you get to a certain level in your life, it's because we work damn hard to get there.
That's it.
And you like success because you've worked hard to be where you are. And so everything you do, you want to make sure you're successful. And that's within our DNA. Let me tell you something. And I saw this recently. I tell you ladies all the time. Black people didn't become lazy until we stopped working for free. Okay? That's when we became lazy. Black people were now labeled as lazy the moment we stopped working for free. So when they ended slavery, okay, all of a sudden, the black mules that were out there dragging carts on our back like horses and breastfeeding white women's babies, we became lazy. So it is in our DNA to work hard. That is what we do. When you get to a certain level, we don't get through university and get these corporate jobs and get these director titles by not doing anything. There generally isn't nepotism in our community. And so therefore, you get to a certain level, you achieve certain things, you make people profit, and you find out that you are making as much as a fucking assistant. No offense to assistants, but
although you work twice as hard, you started a whole program, and yet you're getting peanuts for pay.
And you know, and the thing is, that taught me, and seeing what Toshiba had gone through, that taught me a lesson that I would eventually also have to learn when I learned someone. And I don't know, sometimes people are stupid. They asked me to look over a job description for a job that I also worked. It was a team of us.
Okay.
And they were like, Curcia, we want you to, take a look at this job description. Is it okay? I'm like, cool. So I'm reading it over and I look at how much they're willing to pay this new person.
And you're working in the same...
I was one of the founding people in that department. They developed that department basically because I existed.
Okay, I want you to clarify that. Because I'm
like,
okay, cool.
I was a founding member of this company. Like, as in, my intellectual property
is in that group. Okay.
Is in the DNA.
All over it.
Day, I'm not there, and it's all over it.
Yeah.
All over it. Oh. And when I saw how much they were going to give a new person, I was like, oh, what? And so I sat down, and I sat down with one of the managers over my manager over their manager. And he was the one, and it's funny because he's a white guy from Atlanta. You would think this man is Southern. He doesn't care about what some black chick makes. And he was like, did you know how much this new person's going to get? And I'm like, I wanted to talk to you about that. And he's like, yeah. He's like, don't even worry about it. We're gonna fix that. He's like, he said that he was shocked. He's like, I have no idea what happened there. I don't know how they allowed to put that number on paper and then pay that person when you are here and you've been here for years. And I said to myself that maybe it was a blessing in disguise that I had been given that job description to review.
I think so.
But what would have happened if I didn't see it?
Oh,
and that's the
girl.
disturbing part. There are people, Black people, working every day that have no idea what their colleague is making, and therefore have no idea that they're being paid
peanuts,
70% less.
I know it happened to me. I would work in the same department as my idiot. I can't say her name, but I want to say her name so bad, but I don't want to. She's not worth it. But just like you ladies as well, you know, you get into work early, you leave the office way too late.
I can't even.
Your family wonders what the hell is wrong with you. You're in tears and they're wondering what's wrong with you. You don't want to see what's wrong. You see a train coming, you're debating if you should jump in front of it or not. Like, you know what? It's not
the
right.
system.
It's not right.
And so now, and I'm going to get back to, so now when we become entrepreneurs, after giving away our intellectual property, literally giving away everything that we have to make sure that we can get to where we are, I don't need the government telling me I need to take up more debt. I already have debt. I don't
need them to be on top of the debt.
That is something that we don't want to be doing. You know, and this is why I'm in full belief that as Black people, you know, whether you're employed or whether you are an entrepreneur, now is the time for you to really look at where your money is going and how you can invest, even if it's small little, you know, dividends, investments or
diversified,
whatever, like diversified
portfolio. Yep.
Whatever it is, do your thing and get your coin, because the system is not built for us to strive unless we break ourselves down. And even then, what takes someone 5 years to do, it's going to take us 20 years to do. And, you know, the idea of even, you know, Black single women buying homes, this is a thing that is just starting to become a thing now, because we all started with the short end of the stick.
Yeah, no stick, period.
You know, not all of us have parents that have golf clubs that they can just leave in an inheritance. You know, some of us are lucky if the parents leave us silverware. Okay,
girl, some people are lucky to leave us a bed sheet.
So,
Guy,
you know, and that's just because it is the way it is, and
it is the way it is.
Because that is the way it is, we have to look at ways to say, all right, how are we going to, I don't know, where is the loophole? Where can we, you know, like shimmy in and make changes for ourselves? Because if we're waiting for someone to say, you're pretty enough, you're smart enough, you're great enough, you're capable, you're never going to do it.
Nope.
Like, this is where the whole mindset piece comes in. And I'm the believer that we have to talk to ourselves daily, look in the mirror and remind ourselves of who we are, how great we are. Yes, they said that this woman over here, Elizabeth, is the queen, but we were queens before the monarch was even created.
That part.
We've got to remind ourselves of that. And we are at 151.
Okay, go. You take away for the show.
So my takeaway is, remember who you are. We've got to work. We're in this system. What we've got to do is make sure that we are working hard to do what we can. We're not going to allow the system to stop us, but we're going to climb the hills, climb the mountains, climb the boulders, whatever it takes, and make the best out of ourselves.
So true. Mine is, we're all we got. So support Black business. Support each other. This system was not built for us. Maybe it will change. I highly doubt it will, but that's okay. Because guess what? We're all we got. So we're going to work with what we got and get up there to the top. Go ahead, my sister.
That part. That's basically what I was going to say. I was going to say, listen, we need to come together as a people, because we have to understand the system was not designed to benefit us. It was not at all. A system that was written during times, again, when slavery was happening and so forth, isn't designed. So if we are all we got, we need to come together, be a collective, and figure out how to rise together. And with that, please follow We Rise. It's a group that I'm a part of that's working to bring Black businesses to the front, because we need to come together to be able to rise together. We cannot do it alone. So we are going to go with our song, and we will see you all next week. We got another interesting topic. I don't know what I'm saying because these poor people don't need to hear this. Okay?
Girl, all I hear is beautifulness.
Okay? Sorry, Raptors lost. We'll do better next year. We got this. Go Raptors go. I'm out of my feelings right now. So it's all good. We got this. We are all we got.
That's
We
it.
the